Hey everybody, this is Juan Saavedra from T.F.P. Cichlids, and today we're going to be talking about inbreeding. Now specifically, this is episode number 9 of an introduction to pedigrees and breeding programs. Now in last week's video, I briefly touched each topic that we'd be covering in this series. We spoke about inbreeding, line breeding, and outcrossing. Now when I shot the video last week, I realized that I didn't even explain how to read a pedigree chart. And so for those that don't know how to do it, this is how you do it. We're going to use T.F.P's Meadowman as an example so that you'll get an idea of how to read a pedigree chart. Okay, so here we go. Meadowman is an individual, and we want to know who his parents are, who his grandparents are, who his great-grandparents are. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at his pedigree. Now let's go and look at the pedigree chart. When you look on the top side of the pedigree, you see T.F.P's Megaman. He's a male. And when you look directly underneath him, you see T.F.P's juice box, which is a female. And so that's pretty much how you read pedigrees. It's going to continue that pattern. On the top side, you'll see a male, and on the bottom side, you'll see a female. And so now let's look at T.F.P's Meadowman's grandparents on his father's side, T.F.P's Onyx and T.F.P's Blue Dot. And on his mother's side, let's look at his grandparents also, T.F.P's Onyx and T.F.P's Blue Dot. Now I know that might sound weird. You just saw Onyx and Blue Dot on the top side and on the bottom side. What that means is that T.F.P's Meadowman's parents, T.F.P's Megaman and T.F.P's Juice Box, are brother and sister. And so this is actually inbreeding. And so I did that on purpose because we're going to be talking about inbreeding in this video. But now let's go ahead and look at T.F.P's Meadowman's great-grandparents. On the top side, you see a male. His name is Tigger. And on the bottom side, you see a female named Black History. So those are T.F.P's Meadowman's great-grandparents, one set of his great-grandparents. And now let's look at the second set of his great-grandparents, T.F.P's Tigger and T.F.P's Tiffany. You see that? Tigger's a male and Tiffany's a female. Now when we look at T.F.P's Meadowman's great-grandparents on his mother's side, we're going to see T.F.P's Tigger and T.F.P's Black History. And then again, we're going to see T.F.P's Tigger and T.F.P's Tiffany. And so that's pretty much how you read a pedigree. Keep in mind, on the top side is going to be male, and on the bottom side is going to be a female. So now that we've covered that, now let's go on and move on to the subject of this video, inbreeding. Inbreeding is a technique that's used by breeders to preserve the genes of an amazing individual. An individual that is important, an individual that shows qualities that are absolutely amazing, and you want to be able to produce offspring that have that same trait. So inbreeding is when you breed close relatives, specifically a father to a daughter, a mother to a son, or a brother to a sister. So that's inbreeding. So now, why or when are you going to inbreed? And so for this example, we're going to use T.F.P's Megaman. Megaman was an exceptional male. He was all blue. He looked like an electric blue Motoguensis. That's pretty much how I was telling everybody. I got an electric blue Motoguensis. Now, all of his siblings were just regular looking. They kind of looked like T.F.P's Juice Box. And to this day, I still have 2 of his sisters who don't really have a lot of color. T.F.P's Eyeshadow and T.F.P's No Name. I really didn't give her a name, and she doesn't really have that much color. And so that's how all of his siblings were, with the exception of T.F.P's Survivor, which looked like a powder blue Managuensis. Thank God I still have him today, and hopefully I'll be able to breed him. But T.F.P's Megaman was an exceptional male, and because of that, I wanted to preserve his genes, and in order to do that, I was going to utilize inbreeding to do that. Now, unfortunately, T.F.P's Megaman died before I was able to breed him back to any of his daughters. And so I kind of lost the ability to do that inbreeding. And so with T.F.P's Megaman 2, I did do an inbreeding where I bred him to his sister, T.F.P's Mega Hot Girl. And so I got some fry off of them. And so today I have this male, which I might call T.F.P's Megaman 3. I haven't tested his fertility yet. I have him with a female, and he's not really acting like he wants to breed, so I'm just waiting around for him. I did manage to breed his sister, T.F.P's hot chick, to T.F.P's Sonic Boom, and so I have those fry growing out. And so my goal is to breed those Sonic Boom hot chick fry back to that male T.F.P's potentially Mega Man 3. But I also, for those that have been following me, I also bred T.F.P's Mega Man 2 to T.F.P's Dinamita. And so I'm going to also attempt to breed those hot chick Sonic Boom fry to the male from that breeding, from that T.F.P's Mega Man 2 to T.F.P's Dinamita breeding. Now that would be more of a line breeding, and I've been stuck with that because I haven't been able to, as I mentioned, I wasn't able to inbreed Mega Man to any of his daughters. But the closest thing that I have gotten to inbreeding was when I produced T.F.P's Metal Man. How so? Well, now you have to look at T.F.P's Mega Man's parents. T.F.P's Mega Man's parents are T.F.P's Onyx and T.F.P's Blue Dot. So I bred T.F.P's Mega Man to his sister, T.F.P's Juice Box, and so I produced Metal Man. And so since I wasn't able to inbreed T.F.P's Mega Man to any of his daughters, I mimicked that by breeding T.F.P's Metal Man, his son, to T.F.P's Mega Man's sister, T.F.P's Eyeshadow. And so the goal from that breeding is to produce blue offspring. But unfortunately, T.F.P's Metal Man is not very fertile, and so I've only been able to produce 2 fry that have made it to, right now they're juveniles, and the male right now, as it stands, he's T.F.P's Metal Man 2, and the female, I think I do have a female. I'm not sure if it's a female or a male, but it looks like a female, and I don't really have a name for her yet. But I have T.F.P's Metal Man 2, and so the blue gene has been eluding me. And so far I've been able to mimic that blue, that electric blue Motoguensis look by producing T.F.P's Mega Man 2 and then breeding T.F.P's Mega Man 2 to T.F.P's Mega Hot Girl, his sister, to produce the male who's potentially going to be T.F.P's Mega Man 3. And so he looks like an electric blue Motoguensis, but he doesn't look anywhere near as blue as T.F.P's Mega Man was. And so that's what we're chasing after. We're chasing after producing an electric blue Motoguensis. And so by producing T.F.P's Metal Man 2, right? Remember, we're talking about T.F.P's Metal Man bred to Mega Man's sister, T.F.P's Eyeshadow, which produced T.F.P's Metal Man 2. By producing him, we are preserving that Onyx Blue Dot blood, which produced T.F.P's Mega Man in the first place. And so basically what we're doing is we're chasing after that electric blue Motoguensis look. And so T.F.P's Metal Man 2, he looks really good to me. He's looking nice. He doesn't look like he's going to turn blue at all. He looks like he's going to be like his father, Metal Man, who has some blue, but not the type of blue that we're looking for. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take T.F.P's Metal Man 2, and I'm going to breed him to a female from the T.F.P's Sonic Boom, T.F.P's Hot Chick breeding. And so our goal is going to be to produce an electric blue Motoguensis looking like individual. And so that's what we're chasing after. So I know that we've been all over the place saying a bunch of names, throwing a bunch of fish in the mix. But the purpose of inbreeding is to produce an offspring that looks like a particular individual. And that's been the whole point of me saying all this, is to say that we want to produce a fish that looks like Mega Man, an electric blue Motoguensis. And so what we're doing is we're inbreeding. But now I want to give you an example of T.F.P's Mega Man, and I want to not inbreed so you'll see why you inbreed. So I want to use the breeding in which I bred T.F.P's Mega Man to T.F.P's Hot Stuff, a daughter of the great Juani Olivos Candyman. Now, when I bred T.F.P's Mega Man to T.F.P's Hot Stuff, they were not related. So we got offspring that were 50% Mega Man. And so I want to show you what happens when you breed T.F.P's Mega Man's offspring and his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, to anything that's not related to Mega Man. And so this is what happens. Stay with me. We breed T.F.P's Mega Man to T.F.P's Hot Stuff, and we produce T.F.P's Mega Man 2. Now, I take T.F.P's Mega Man 2, which is 50% Mega Man, and I breed T.F.P's Mega Man 2 to another unrelated female. And so now we have grandchildren off of T.F.P's Mega Man. And so what that means is that that following generation is 25% Mega Man. And so now, let's say we took that 25% Mega Man male and we bred him to another totally unrelated female. The subsequent generation would be T.F.P's Mega Man's great-grandchildren, and those fry would be 12.5% Mega Man. And so as you can see, what's happening to the percentage of Mega Man's blood in each successive generation is that it's becoming less and less, and is becoming diluted. And so that is what happens when you don't inbreed. When you don't inbreed, you dilute the genes of the parents from which they come from. And so that is why we inbreed. We inbreed to preserve genes. T.F.P's Mega Man was a male that was an electric blue motoguensis, and it took me 6 years of breeding to produce that male. And so I wanted to preserve his genes. And so now I'm going to give you an example of why you inbreed. And so we're going to use the example of when I bred T.F.P's Mega Man to T.F.P's Hot Stuff. In that breeding, I produced T.F.P's Mega Man 2 and T.F.P's Mega Hot Girl. Now, ideally, if I would have been able to, I would have bred T.F.P's Mega Man to his daughter T.F.P's Mega Hot Girl. And I would have produced a 75% Mega Man, 25% Hot Stuff individual. And what that would have been for me, as you can see, the percentage of Mega Man's blood increases. So what that means, if I would have been able to do that breeding, if I would have been able to breed T.F.P's Mega Man to his daughter T.F.P's Mega Hot Girl, I would have possibly produced a whole batch of offspring that looked like T.F.P's Mega Man, that looked like electric blue motoguensis. And so now I'm going to inbreed again. Let's say that I was able to breed T.F.P's Mega Man to T.F.P's 75% Mega Man offspring. Let's say I got a 75% daughter of Mega Man and bred that to T.F.P's Mega Man. And so by doing that breeding, I would have produced an 87.5% Mega Man offspring. So as you can see, every time you inbreed, and this is kind of like a heavy inbreeding, because we're breeding back to the father, grandfather, great-grandfather, etc. And so now we've produced an individual or a batch of fry that are 87.5% Mega Man. And so the likelihood of all those fry looking like electric blue motoguensis would have been increased. See, now, let's say that we took that 87.5% fry female and bred that back to T.F.P's Mega Man. That would have produced a 93.75% batch of fry, which now definitely means that those offspring are almost an exact replica of T.F.P's Mega Man. And so now you see why you inbreed. You inbreed to increase the amount of genes of a particular individual. Now, before I close out this video, I want to leave you with this. At the moment, I'm attempting an inbreeding of one of T.F.P's iguana sons, and he is one of the sons that I got from breeding T.F.P's iguana to T.F.P's red girl. He's the only male out of that whole breeding that peeled all the way and turned orange color. And so what I'm going to do is, matter of fact, what I've done is I've attempted to breed him to his mother, T.F.P's red girl. And so why would I breed this red male to T.F.P's red girl? And it's simply this. My goal is to produce offspring that have that red that TFP's red girl has. Because TFP's red girl is a fireman's dream female, and yes, they're beautiful and they're all over the place. But one of the things that you don't find too often is a all red flower horn. It's still fairly rare. Now, it's not as rare as it used to be. Now we're starting to see them more frequently, but it's still somewhat rare. And specifically to find a male that's all red. You can find females that are all red, but it seems like males, it's harder to find males that are all red. And so my goal in breeding this male, which is going to potentially be TFP's red iguana, is to produce offspring that are all red. Since I'll be producing 75% red girl fry, I'll have a higher likelihood of producing offspring that look exactly like TFP's red girl. And so my goal will be, as I've discussed, the fry that come off of TFP's red iguana to TFP's red girl, I'm going to attempt to get a male out of that, and hopefully that turns all red. At least definitely it peels all the way, but that has a lot of red, and I'm going to use that to breed back to TFP's red girl. And so thus producing an 87.5% red girl offspring. And so that's pretty much it. That's inbreeding right there. That's why you do it. You do it to preserve traits and to reproduce a certain amazing individual. And so next week's video, we're going to be talking about line breeding. And line breeding is what you do when you don't want to inbreed. And so you don't want to inbreed all the time. The only time you really want to inbreed is when you are trying to, produce a certain fish that you really loved. Or in the case like when you have wild caught or wild animals, they do breeding programs, and I should have said this earlier, but when you have animals that are almost going to be extinct, sometimes you have no option but to inbreed, and you breed brother to sister because they are on the verge of extinction and they're about to be wiped out off the face of the earth. So you have to breed them together. And so sometimes they utilize inbreeding and then later on line breeding to preserve these amazing individuals. And so that's pretty much it. So stay tuned for next week's video. We're going to be talking about line breeding. I'm going to talk to you why you line breed. And I use a lot of line breeding in my breeding programs. And so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about line breeding. And then the next video after that, we're going to be talking about outcrossing. So I just want to thank you for staying with me, sticking with me. I know this video has been a little bit more technical. It might not have been as fun as other videos where you just see a beautiful fish and what he's been bred to or where he came from. But this is a little more technical, and my goal is that you all will be able to utilize inbreeding when you have amazing individuals like TFP's Knuckles. I'm sorry, TFP's Knuckles. Oh, I wish he would be TFP's Knuckles. Cesar Renteria's Knuckles. I actually asked him the other day. I said, "Hey man, would you sell me Knuckles?" But, I know he wouldn't do that. But yeah, Knuckles is the kind of fish that you would inbreed. You breed him back to his daughters to reproduce fish that look just like him. Another fish that I think would have benefited from inbreeding would have been Nikos Brown's The Man, which later on was Frank Bloom's The Man. I think he would have benefited from an inbreeding. And he might have been inbred, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he was. And Nikos Brown could talk to us about that, and even Frank Bloom. But yeah, he could have definitely benefited from inbreeding. TFP's Mega Man was a special fish. He could have benefited from inbreeding. And so could have TFP's Mega Man 2. TFP's Mega Man 2 didn't have the blue, quite as much as TFP's Mega Man did, but he did have a lot of blue, and he was an amazing male. Definitely worth inbreeding. TFP's Red Iguana is a male that's definitely worth inbreeding. TFP's Iguana also, he's green. I mean, where do you, we'd have to preserve that green trait. And so he's definitely going to be inbred. I'm planning to inbreed him to some fish. I just finished breeding T.F.P's iguana to Sonic Boom and Chica Boom's daughter, T.F.P's Bombshell. So really excited about those offspring. Those probably going to be amazing. But yeah, I'm thinking about breeding T.F.P's iguana back to one of his daughters. I have a really nice looking daughter from him, from the breeding of T.F.P's iguana to T.F.P's red girl, that I think is worth using to inbreed. And who else? Do I have any other fish that are worth inbreeding? T.F.P's red girl is worth inbreeding. T.F.P's Dinamita, T.F.P's Tiger Mom, and even T.F.P's Hot Tamale. Those are all females that are worth inbreeding, I think. Who else is worth inbreeding? Oh, and definitely the fry that I got off of T.F.P's Starman bred to T.F.P. Sugarcane. Those are definitely worth inbreeding because they're grandchildren of Nikos Brown's The Man. So that's going to be worth inbreeding. And I have a lot of other stuff that's worth inbreeding, I think. But it's still fried. They haven't grown out yet. And so, yeah, that's it. That's the video on inbreeding. Make sure you like this video. Make sure that you write a comment down below. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you'd like to see. Tell me, ask me questions, if you got any questions. And also make sure that you go over to Facebook and make sure you friend me on Facebook so we can chit chat, have a little conversation. I've been having conversations with different people. And so, Captain Dan over there in Australia, my friend over in Australia, and Julian Fisher in Australia also. And, Ramel in the Philippines. And so, different people from different parts of the world. And so just, write me, friend me on Facebook so that we can, talk. And so that's pretty much it. This has been episode number 9, part 2 of the video series, An Introduction to Pedigrees and Breeding Programs. And specifically today, we spoke about inbreeding. So stay tuned. Make sure that you check me out next week when we'll be talking about line breeding. Thank you for stopping by. Peace.